Welcome back to our channel, soap fans. Today is a beautiful day, but the skies over Fairmont Crest are looking incredibly stormy. Grab your favorite cup of coffee, settle in, and let's get ready to unpack some of the most explosive, heart-wrenching drama we have seen all season on Beyond the Gates. I am still reeling from the latest developments, and I just have to share my thoughts, theories, and deepest fears about what is coming next for our favorite characters. Let me set the scene for you, because the visual contrast here is absolutely staggering. We have Mona Wilson and Jan Morgan, two pillars of the Fairmont Crest community, meeting in a secluded, dimly lit corner of the lavish country club. Just steps away, the elite are sipping their expensive champagne, gossiping about cotillions and petty rivalries, completely oblivious to the earth-shattering reality unfolding in the shadows. I could feel the tension radiating through the screen. Mona, who is usually so composed and vibrant, looked entirely different. There was a haunting finality in her eyes as she pulled out those fateful medical test results. When the bombshell dropped, I literally gasped out loud. Mona is facing a terminal illness, late stage, and her time on this earth is rapidly running out. I have to admit, I am completely heartbroken by this revelation. Mona has always been a character who commands respect, and seeing her confront her own mortality is a tough pill to swallow. But what truly struck me is how she handled it. Instead of breaking down, instead of seeking pity or comfort from her best friend, Mona's demeanor shifted into something incredibly fierce and determined. She doesn't want tears. She doesn't want a lavish farewell tour. She wants justice. And this is where the storyline takes a massive, dangerous turn that I never saw coming. But that's not all. Mona didn't just bring Jan to this hidden corner to share her grief. She brought her there to recruit her for a final, wildly dangerous mission. Mona wants to expose the entire insidious truth behind the plasma ring before she takes her last breath. Yes, you heard me right. The same plasma ring that has already claimed lives, the same black market operation that involved Dr. Leo Whitmore and triggered a massive warehouse bust. Mona is planning to blow the lid off the whole thing, and she's willing to risk everything to do it. So this makes me wonder, how deep does Mona's knowledge actually go? We know the plasma ring has its tentacles wrapped around the highest echelons of Fairmont Crest. Mona explicitly stated that exposing this truth would mean betraying some of her closest friends in the elite upper crust. Who exactly is she talking about? My mind immediately goes to Leslie Thomas. We all know Leslie has been having a complete meltdown lately, frantically worrying that the plasma ring drama will spill into her orbit because she funds the free clinic where the plasma was stolen. What if Leslie isn't just an innocent benefactor? What if Leslie is the secret mastermind, or at least a major financial backer of the illegal operation? My theory is that Mona has stumbled upon a paper trail, perhaps financial records or secret communications that directly links the country club elites, maybe even Leslie herself, to the stolen plasma. Mona is a smart woman. She wouldn't risk her final days on a mere hunch. She has hard evidence, and she knows that bringing it to the corrupt local authorities might just get it buried. That's why she needs January. She needs someone on the outside, someone she trusts implicitly, to carry the torch if she doesn't survive long enough to see the perpetrators behind bars. Let's talk about Jan Morgan for a second, because my heart aches for her. Jan is now thrust into an impossible dilemma, a true catch, 2-2 that would break anyone's spirit. On one hand, she fiercely loves her best friend and wants to honor Mona's dying wish. If your best friend asks you for one final favor to leave a legacy of justice, how could you say no? But on the other hand, Jan is terrified. She knows exactly how ruthless the people running the plasma ring are. We saw what happened at the warehouse. We know Derek Baldwin died a hero because of this darkness. Jan is standing at a crossroads. Does she respect Mona's final wishes and help her step into the line of fire, or does she try to stop Mona, forcing her to spend her final days in a hospital bed rather than going out in a blaze of glory? If I were in Jan's shoes, I would be paralyzed with fear. I can see a scenario where Jan initially refuses, begging Mona to just seek treatment and find peace. But Mona is stubborn. I believe Mona will manipulate the situation, perhaps threatening to go it alone, which will ultimately force Jan's hand. Jan won't let her best friend walk into the lion's den without backup. This dynamic is going to provide some of the most compelling, Emmy-worthy acting we've seen all year. The emotional weight of carrying a friend's terminal secret while simultaneously plotting a massive takedown of the town's elite is a narrative goldmine. Let's take a step back and really analyze the profound history between Mona and the very people she is about to betray. These aren't just acquaintances. These are the women she has shared secrets with, the women she has toasted with at endless charity galas. For Mona to reach a point where she is willing to burn her own social circle to the ground, the level of betrayal she must have uncovered has to be astronomical. It makes me question every single interaction we've seen her have over the past year. But was she secretly taking notes during those lavish country club luncheons? When Mona was catching up with Jan previously, was she already laying the groundwork for this massive revelation? The psychological weight of living a double life, smiling at people who are secretly profiting off human suffering, must have been what drove Mona to this desperate final act. She realizes that her legacy cannot be tied to these monsters. And let's not underestimate the sheer terror Jan must be feeling. Jan is not a spy. She is not a hardened detective like Elon Hawthorne. She is a loyal friend who is suddenly being asked to navigate a deadly underworld. I can vividly picture Jan lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, paralyzed by the weight of Mona's secret. Will Jan try to find a middle ground? Perhaps she will attempt to anonymously leak the information to Tomas Navarro or Bill Hamilton, hoping the lawyers can handle it without exposing Mona. But knowing Bill's current compromised state with Haley's suspected poisoning, handing the evidence to him might be a fatal mistake. Jan is walking a tightrope over a pit of vipers, and one wrong step won't just ruin Mona's final wish, it could cost Jan her own life. The paranoia is going to be palpable in every scene they share moving forward. Now, let's dive into some of the darker theories I've been brewing. Is Mona's illness truly a natural tragedy? In the world of Beyond the Gates, coincidences are rarely just coincidences. The timing of this terminal diagnosis is highly suspicious. What if Mona was getting too close to the truth months ago and someone in the plasma ring found out? Could she have been intentionally poisoned? We know Haley Hamilton is suspected of poisoning Bill, so toxins and foul play are definitely on the menu in Fairmont Crest. What if Mona was given tainted plasma during a routine procedure at Garland Memorial, courtesy of Dr. Whitmore's corrupt network? If this is true, Mona isn't just fighting a disease. She's fighting a murder weapon slowly ticking away inside her veins. And this leads me to question the ultimate fate of Mona Wilson. I am terrified for her, but I also see several different possibilities for how her story might end. Possibility number one, she succeeds. Mona and Jan manage to leak the documents, perhaps crashing the upcoming Garland Memorial Media Conference to expose everyone, and Mona dies a hero, much like Derek, leaving a legacy that cleanses Fairmont Crest. Possibility number two, the plasma ring finds out about her plan before she can execute it. We could see Mona tragically silenced, murdered in her own home, with the villains making it look like she succumbed to her illness. The tragedy of Jan knowing the truth but having no proof would be a phenomenal setup for the next season. But wait, there is a third, wildly speculative possibility. What if Mona isn't actually dying? What if this terminal diagnosis is a highly elaborate ruse? Hear me out. If Mona knows the elite are watching her, the best way to get them to lower their guard is to convince them she is a dying, harmless woman. Maybe she forged the test results to force Jan into action, knowing Jan wouldn't agree to such a dangerous scheme unless the stakes were absolute life and death. I know it sounds manipulative, but when you are dealing with a syndicate that steals blood and lives, you have to play dirty. If Mona is faking it, the eventual fallout with Jan would be catastrophic, but it might just be the only way to win. Let's also look at the minor details from recent episodes. We know Jacob Hawthorne is diving deeper into his undercover thug persona, moving out of Naomi's house to infiltrate the plasma ring. Could Mona and Jan's amateur investigation accidentally cross paths with Jacob's police operation? Imagine the sheer chaos if Jan, trying to gather evidence from Mona, accidentally blows Jacob's cover. Or conversely, what if Mona secretly reaches out to Jacob, recognizing him as the only untainted force in town? The intersection of these two storylines could create an explosive climax that will leave us all breathless. Furthermore, how will the elite react when they realize a dying woman is holding their darkest secrets? People like Leslie Thomas are already spiraling. If Leslie catches wind that Mona is poking around the free clinic's financial records, Leslie's self-centered panic could turn lethal. We already saw Leslie cause Anita Dupree to collapse at the country club just from a heated confrontation. Leslie is a loose cannon. A desperate Leslie, backed into a corner by a dying Mona, is a recipe for absolute disaster. I genuinely fear that Leslie might take drastic measures to protect her reputation and her funding. In conclusion, the stakes have never been higher. Mona's tragic diagnosis has transformed her from a beloved socialite into a ticking time bomb of truth and vengeance. Jan Morgan holds the detonator, and her choice will dictate the future of Fairmont Crest. Will they bring down the elite? Will Mona survive long enough to see justice served, or will the darkness of the plasma ring consume her first? I am literally on the edge of my seat waiting to see how this unfolds. What do you guys think? Is Mona's illness real or a brilliant tactical lie? Will Jan betray her friend to save her life? Let me know all your thoughts and theories, because I cannot stop thinking about this